Hey, it's Kathleen from Republica Unicornia. I have just gotten my Ferndale cardigan off the blocking mats. And I had literally, I think one person, but I had someone ask how I sew on ribbons to button bands, and I wanted to show y'all how I do that. This is like a super optional finish, but it actually serves a functional purpose too. It stops. If you think about, knitwear is really, really stretchy, knitting's really stretchy. And so if you just sew big buttons on over time, it can stretch out the button band a little bit and can kind of start to sag, especially in a seamless knit like this. So putting a ribbon on gives a little bit of stability to the button band, but also it's just really pretty and an excuse to buy really beautiful ribbons, which is the real reason I do it. It does make them very fancy. On steeked cardigans, this is not a steeked cardigan, this was knit flat, but on a steeked cardigan where it's been cut open, you can use ribbons to cover up the steek. So if this was steeked, the ribbon would go along here to cover up that cut edge. This is not a steeked cardigan, so I don't really need to, that's secure, I don't need to cover it up. So what I'm actually gonna be doing is on the button side only of the cardigan, I'm going to sew the ribbon down to the button band. So that's what we're going to be doing. Just a disclaimer, I am kind of rubbish at hand sewing. It's not really my thing, but I'm going to do the best to show how I do this and how it doesn't look like hopefully total garbage. So I'm going to need a ribbon. This is it's a 1 inch wide cotton fancy ribbon. I will link my favorite source for ribbons below. It's an Etsy shop and they do really high quality German cotton woven ones. They do polyester ones. They also do vintage ribbons. So I bought some of those. I think this is a new one. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold the ends down. So this is all we're going to do. See, these are raw edges. So if I just left them, they would fray and it would be gross. And so we're just going to fold them up. That's it. And I did go ahead and I pressed the ribbon. It wasn't super bad, but I did press it. So we're going to need the ribbon. We're going to need thread. I like to match the thread to the garment instead of the ribbon. Obviously it's on the inside, so you're not going to see it. It's not going to be terrible. You shouldn't be able to see the thread through from the right side of your work, but just in case, I want it to blend in as much as possible. So that's what this is. I have a regular old hand sewing needle. I have scissors. I have janky beeswax. I like to wax my thread. I don't know that it does anything, but I enjoy the routine. This is like the most garbage beeswax ever. You can get nicer thread conditioner and stuff like that, but I've been using it forever. It's fine. And you're gonna need some pins. So I'm gonna start off, I'm gonna pin this down. This is actually a pretty like low-key one. It's pretty small because the cardigan's V-neck, so there's really I don't have that much button band to work with. So what I'm gonna do, move everything around. Hopefully y'all can see it. There we go. My head's gonna be stuck in here, so enjoy my roots. So I'm going to go ahead. I have actually woven in the ends already. I'm gonna trim this one. So the ends have all been woven in. You can also, hide them under the ribbon. Nobody's gonna know. Okay. So I'm going to start. And you don't want it to stretch the knitting. You want it to kind of be as flat as possible. The stitch we're gonna use gives it a little bit of flexibility, but you don't want it to be weird and bunchy. This is it's pretty simple. So we're gonna just pin her down. Chances of me stabbing myself and swearing with the pins, very high. And we're gonna do the bottom. And you don't want it to show. So you want it to, I usually line up with the selvage edge. I'll line the ribbon up with the selvage edge. So. And I'm also going to get, is my hand in the way? Okay, there you go. I'm actually gonna trim this bottom a little bit. It's a little long. I made it a little generous. So I'm just pinning, I'm just pinning parallel to the bottom button band. And at the ends, I'm gonna stick a pin in here. And I think I'm going to also, just to be extra safe, because, I am going to not run my scissors into my brand new cardigan. Safety, my friends. I'm also going to pin on this side too. I don't think you really have to do this, but we like pins. Plus it gives me more chances to stab myself and swear. Okay, everything's secure. So I'm going to take a length of thread. I always double my thread. It gives it a little bit more strength. I'm gonna, oh, I should have gotten a better needle. We'll see how it does. I grabbed kind of a beefy needle, but I'm working with kind of beefy fabric, so maybe it'll be okay. Okay. I'm gonna tie a knot at the bottom. Also, seriously, I am not an expert in hand sewing. I'm sure anyone who is cringing at this point. I do it when I have to, and only then. Okay, so we're gonna get all this out of the way. So we're going to wax the thread. So I'm just gonna run it. I don't know. Y'all, I don't know if this does anything, but I enjoy it. I am going to start, how do I normally start? I'm gonna start at this edge. So I'm gonna start at the bottom. So I'm just gonna start by kind of grabbing this. I wanna hide my knot in this corner. Is it going to work? Probably not. Ah, lovely. Okay, so the stitch that we're gonna be using, I'm going to move this down so you can see a little bit better. Oh, look at that. Okay, so I'm gonna be doing what's called a fell stitch. And if I'm seriously, I might be doing this wrong, but this is how it works for me. So what you do is you don't wanna go all the way through the fabric, right? Like you don't wanna all the way through your knit fabric. You don't wanna like have thread showing on this, grabbing all this. So you're gonna kind of pick up a little bit of yarn here and you're gonna come up. So your first stitch is gonna go directly across from where the working thread is coming up. So you're gonna go through there and you're gonna pick it up from this side, like that. And then you're gonna go about 1/4 of an inch, and you wanna keep it close. The closer you can keep it to the edge, to the edge of the ribbon, the neater it's gonna look. And there, and it's gonna get caught in everything, and there's gonna be swearing. It's gonna be great. Okay. So there is our first little fall stitch. There it is. See, you can barely see it because it matches the yarn. Okay, so see how I'm picking up a little yarn right there, and I'm gonna go about 1/4 of an inch as close to the edge as I can. I'm gonna try not to catch this pin. I'm gonna swear a lot. There you go. And I'm just gonna keep going. It actually, honestly, like this is kind of soothing. I find it kind of soothing. And so I'll show you another one. So there's my next stitch, and you can see, that's it. It really does. It makes such a, and I'm gonna just kind of remove pins as I go along. It really is very soothing to do, actually. And see, I've got like came up 1/4 of an inch. And there's my little fell stitch. Seriously, you can barely see it. So you pick up right across from where your stitch is, go 1/4 of an inch down the ribbon. And you can't, so you can see it on this side. I mean, barely, but you can see it on this side. You can't see anything on this side. And that's it. It really is such a nice way to just, I'm not a fussy sewist or knitter, but this is one of those tiny little steps that really does make your handmade garments feel a little bit more special. I also, as I said, love an excuse to buy ribbon. So that is that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna keep going all the way up the edge, remove that pin, just gonna keep going, and I will meet you back when it is all done. Okay, so we are rounding up the end. Fold's a little trickier because it's thick, but we're almost there. I actually find this very soothing and satisfying. Almost there. Okay, so I'm going to probably poorly tie off a knot. And that's a mess, but I'm just going to shove it back in here. Maybe. Ta-da! Totally fine. Okay, so I'm going to trim this. I'm going to do that. Okay. So let's take a look. Whoop. Very fancy. Okay, so my cardigan has whatever detritus is on my cutting table in it now, but also it has a ribbon sewed down over the button band. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to line up the buttonholes and my button band, and I'm going to sew on buttons. And the ribbon will make it a little bit easier if you've ever had to deal with using thread to sew on buttons on knitwear and they kind of wobbled around. This will stop any wobbling, and also it's beautiful. So that's it.